Hello, and welcome to the Federal Aid module. There are two main branches of the financial aid that you will encounter at Lehman College: New York State Financial Aid and Federal Financial Aid. This module will go over the basics of federal financial aid, including what it is, the information you will need to provide to apply and why, and basic eligibility requirements. What is federal financial aid? Federal financial aid, or federal student aid, is money that comes from the U.S. government, specifically the U.S. Department of Education. This money can help you cover costs such as tuition and fees, room and board, or rent and food, books and supplies, transportation, or miscellaneous costs. It is money that will help you to pay for your essential living needs during the months you are actively taking classes. The total cost of your living needs is calculated each academic year and is based on an estimate of each of these expenses. This yearly estimated amount is called the cost of attendance, or COA. A student's total financial aid award package is not allowed to exceed their yearly cost of attendance. For this reason, all forms of financial aid are based on your COA. Federal student aid can also be determined by your expected family contribution, or EFC, which is used to grant you access to need-based financial aid types. A need-based financial aid type is one which sets a certain financial limit to determine whether you need that form of financial aid or not. The EFC is a number calculated from your calculated FAFSA and is based on the average estimated amount that a household of your size and general makeup is expected to contribute each school year. Therefore, EFC numbers will differ from student to student. For example, a dependent student who is an only child and lives at home with their two working parents may have a different EFC than an independent non-working student who lives on campus with an also non-working college-enrolled spouse. This is because it is estimated that two non-working people in college will have less of an ability to pay money towards tuition, fees, housing, food, books, and supplies. While the cost of attendance represents how much it should cost you to be able to attend college during an academic year, the expected family contribution represents how much of that total cost the government expects that you or your family should be able to pay towards it. The gap between the two is used to determine your overall need for need-based financial aid. There are 4 types of financial aid handled by Lehman's Financial Aid Office. There are federal grants, work study, federal direct loans, and scholarships. For federal grants received, students will not have to pay this money back if they meet all the eligibility criteria. In a later module, we will cover certain times you may have to pay some of these back because one or more eligibility requirements are not met. While you will apply for federal grants, work study, and federal direct loans through the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA, scholarships require separate applications. We encourage you to apply for scholarships, but be careful. Scholarships are gifts, so any legitimate scholarship offer should be free to apply. All types of financial funding will be based on your cost of attendance, since a student is not allowed to exceed their allotted COA for the academic year. The EFC is used to determine how much Pell a student is eligible for, and for loans, the EFC determines whether a student qualifies for a loan with interest or without. Work study is also EFC dependent, and it is a job assignment that requires you to work a certain number of hours for a paycheck, whereas federal grants and direct loans do not require any work hours, and work or volunteer hours requirements will differ for each scholarship. To determine your EFC and eligibility for need-based aid, the federal government needs to verify your identity, your citizenship status, your financial status, and your household makeup. If you are a dependent student, then the financial status of your parents must be verified. Likewise, if you are an independent, married student, then the financial status of your spouse must be verified. To verify this information, you will need to have certain documents handy when completing the FAFSA. To start, you will need to enter your Social Security number, and if you are a dependent student, your parent's Social Security number or numbers as well. Similarly, if you are married, you will need to submit your spouse's Social Security number. It is crucial that you enter all socials correctly, since this is how your identity will be confirmed. It is also how your FAFSA will be matched to your CUNY First record so that all eligible aid can be posted to your bill. Other identifying information that you may have to provide is your driver's license number if you have one, and your alien registration number in the case that you are not a U.S. citizen. To verify your financial status and expected family contribution, the federal government needs to know how much money was earned and how many assets were being held by you, your parents, if you are a dependent student, and your spouse if you are a married student during your specified tax year. Because of this, you want to have the following documents available to you while completing your FAFSA application: your IRS 1040 or IRS 1040-NR or foreign tax return, if applicable. If you are dependent, your parents' IRS 1040 or IRS 1040-NR or foreign tax return, if applicable. If you are married, your spouse's IRS 1040 or IRS 1040-NR or foreign tax return, if applicable. Records of your untaxed income, such as child support received, interest income, and veterans non-education benefits for you and for your parents if you are a dependent student. Information on cash, savings, and checking account balances, investments, including stocks and bonds, and real estate, but not including the home in which you live, and business and farm assets for you and for your parents if you are a dependent student. While certain forms of scholarships and federal financial aid will have specific eligibility requirements, there are basic eligibility criteria which most of them share. To meet these basic criteria, a student must demonstrate financial need. Again, this will not apply to federal direct loans or certain types of scholarships, but will apply to most programs. Be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen. Have a valid social security number. Be enrolled or accepted for enrollment as a regular student in an eligible degree or certificate program. Be enrolled at least part-time to be eligible for direct loan program funds. Sign a certification statement on the free application for federal student aid, FAFSA, form stating that you are not in default on a federal student loan. You do not owe money on a federal student grant, and you will use federal student aid only for educational purposes, and have a high school diploma or a GED certificate, pass an approved ability to benefits test, ATB, enroll in a school that participates in an approved state process, or complete his or her state requirements applicable to homeschooling, and maintain satisfactory academic progress, or SAP. Federal regulations require all students to meet specific academic criteria prior to receiving any type of federal student aid. This includes, but is not limited to, the federal Pell Grant, SEOG, Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grants, Work Study, Direct Student Loans, and Perkins Loan. Collectively, these academic criteria are referred to as Satisfactory Academic Progress, or SAP. There are 3 SAP standards that must be met at the end of each spring semester. The Maximum Time Frame Standard. The Maximum Time Frame Standard states that students are not allowed to attempt more than 150% of the credit hours required for graduation. This means that for undergraduate students that require 120 credits to graduate, a student will no longer be covered under federal student aid once they have reached their 180th credit. 180 is exactly 150% of 120. Therefore, 180 credits mark the cutoff for federal aid eligibility. The minimum GPA, grade point average, standard. This one is simple. CUNY, City University of New York, has set the following GPA requirements for undergraduate students. If you have attempted between 1/2 and 12 credits inclusive, you need a minimum GPA of 1.5 to be eligible for federal state aid. If you have attempted between 13 and 24 credits inclusive, you need a minimum GPA of 1.75 for eligibility. And once you have hit 25 attempted credits, you must maintain a minimum GPA of 2.0 to remain eligible for federal student aid. graduate students must maintain a 3.0 GPA. It is important to note that these GPA requirements are based on the number of credits you have attempted, not the number you have earned. Credits associated with courses. It is important to note that these GPA requirements are based on the number of credits you have attempted, not the number you have earned. Credits associated with courses that are incomplete, failed, withdrawn from, or registered for, but never attended still count as attempted credits, even when they are not earned. Be mindful of this when setting your overall GPA goals as you continue your college career at Lehman College. The pace of progression standard. Like the GPA standard, the pace of progression standard is based on the number of attempted credits. The pace of progression standard requires that students maintain a certain percentage of earned credits out of attempted credits. This percentage varies on, and you guessed it, the total number of credits you have attempted. The pace of progression standard follows the tables you see before you. For example, if you have attempted 30 credits in total, including all failed, withdrawn, and incomplete grade courses, you are required to earn at least 5 credits, which is a 16.67% target. Compare that with attempting 15 credits, where the percentage requirement of is 0%, or with attempting 105 credits, which turns out to be a percentage requirement of 60%, or 63 divided by 105. Let us take a break. When we return, we will cover the types of federal aid that are available to you and go more in depth about the Federal Pell Grant, Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, or FCEOG, Teacher Education Assistant for College and Higher Grant, Federal Work Study, and the eligibility needed to receive each award. See you soon!